Hello, friends, and welcome to 10 Points Under, where we didn't start the fire. This is Big Bullfrog, and joining me today is a co-cast. I'd actually probably say maybe about a regular right now, or actually maybe not. Probably a nice co-casting regular, somebody who I've been able to co-cast with a lot now, and who I really enjoy co-casting with, and who I'm sure everybody's excited to hear from. Because I think he's a crowd favorite. This is Chris Perkins. Thanks for joining us today, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's always good to have you on. I think you bring a lot of good insight to the game. I don't know. I just really like talking Heroscape with you. So this will be fun.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to watching this game. I didn't get a chance to catch it live, so actually have not seen it before. So yeah, definitely should be a good time.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a really good game. I'm really looking forward to it. So partially, to start off the reason why this is the finals game from the second Bring the VCheese tournament. So they're pulling out all the stops. You can bring whatever you want. 520 point limit, 24 spaces. Bring whatever cheese you can think of, and yeah, like I said, this is the finals game. There were a lot of cool armies, and these are the two that made it to the top. And you'll notice one of these armies is actually pretty interesting and not something that you would expect to see out of VCheese, but something that worked really, really well. I'm really excited to see it. Unfortunately, this is the only game I've got this army in. I wanted to get more, but I just kept missing the games that heroscaper2010 was playing in. But you've got this cool Mimring army over here, where you've got Raylan Mimring, Mara Warriors, and then just a bunch of arrow Gruts, which is hilarious, but also worked really, really well up to this point. I won't spoil how the game goes, but I mean, obviously he's won, I think, 3 games at this point, 4 games, and made it into the finals. So it's really, really cool to see this army here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very unique take on the Raylan plus Dragon plus screen type build. You don't usually see arrow Gruts as the screen in that particular context, but it's definitely interesting and quite unique. Something that Heroscaper 2010 came up with that really hadn't been run before, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an army like this. I mean, like, usually you've got a couple of Swag Riders in there as well, but I think it honestly, like, when I saw it, I'm like, huh, interesting. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, running without Swags actually kind of makes sense, because I've always loved using Mimring with arrow Gruts, but I think that Mimring has been hurt by how immobile the arrow Gruts become when they're using Swag Riders with them. So if you take away the Swag Riders, just throw in more arrow Gruts and just kind of use them as like a ranged screen, I think that makes a lot of sense. That this is the first time we saw it in action, but it worked really well, and I would not be surprised to see this become something of a staple in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I talked to Heroscaper 2010 a little bit before the tournament about this army, and actually ran a few practice games against it. And so part of the rationale for not including any arrow Gruts was just sort of how weak they can be and how fast they can die, and the ability of one quick blank on a single Swag Rider to really crush 2 to 3 turns of development and positioning, and sort of just make it all null and useless. And just exchange that for trying to get a couple early fire lines in with Mimring. Toast a couple squad figures from across the board. Give yourself an advantage instead.
Yeah,
it's definitely a cool take on it, and excited to see what it does against the Knights. On the other side, I'd say we have a little bit more of a standard build, which is some what you'd think of as classic A-tier figures from the originals. You got Raylan, 4 squads of Knights, Gilbert, and Mara Warriors. So fairly, you probably don't see them taken in that particular combination too often, but still a bunch of standard figures you would probably expect to see at the high levels of a cheese or a VCheese event.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, not to knock this army by praising, how this army too much. I think this is also a really solid build. Honestly, I saw this one. Usually, if I'm looking at a VCheese tournament, I feel like knights are probably the most solid army, like all around in the VCheese meta. Obviously, there's still some exploration to happen there, but that's just kind of my gut feelings as far as like what's available. They do have the Cathar matchup that happens in VCheese, but and that's why I do like Raylan in this matchup, because I think Raylan helps into the Cathar matchup a lot, and also into a lot of the ranged matchups that you will see with the VCheese. And so I also really like this army because it's got Raylan Morrow Warriors. Morrow Warriors are great for the end game, and then just a bunch of knights, which are always super solid.
And especially against the Cathar matchup, the Morrow Warriors are especially important, because when that happens, you can just completely set up your knights, but then you don't ever have to march them into a Cathar, and you can use the Morrow Warriors as sort of the entirety of the offense in that scenario, while the Cathar are trying to cut their way through 6 defense knights.
Right, yeah.
So you definitely have some niche importance where you could see the Morrow Warriors killing, a couple 100 points worth of figures with the right matchup, sitting behind that knight screen.
Yeah, the flexibility that they provide is huge, I think, and especially in the VCheese meta, where I feel like there aren't as many melee matchups that you'll be running into, and there'll be a lot more different types of. I mean, I guess you could call Cathar melee, but I don't tend to think of it as melee. Especially like if you're playing melee into them, they don't play like melee, so I don't tend to think of them as melee in that situation. But yeah, I do like the flexibility, so I think this is just a solid, flexible army. And just like Chris noted before we started recording, so this is a VCheese tournament. There are no custom figures in these armies, and they're mostly from like we've got, let's see, so Raylan, Mimring, Morrow Warriors from the master set, Gruts from wave 1, Knights from wave 2, and then you do have Gilbert from the Flag Bearer set, which came out a bit later. But I mean, this is about as classic as you can get, really.
Yeah, the original figures kind of showed that they still belong in that top tier throughout this event, which definitely played its way out, leading to this fun finals matchup between Boromir and Heroscaper 2010.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing I do like, about both the classic meta as well as the VCheese meta. I do like seeing that. I mean, okay, people have opinions about Raylan, but I do like seeing that original figures still have a good place at the table alongside newer figures as well. So it's cool to see them being able to hold their own.
I love Raylan. That may be controversial, but I love Raylan. I think it's very good for the game of Heroscape that one of, if not the best figure, is a defensive unit, in that it encourages a lot more interesting defensive, sort of slow positioning, rather than if the best unit was just an offensive crusher, like say Cyprian or something like that, where everyone was just rushing at the other and rolling d20s all of the time. I think you'd have a lot less strategy in high-level games than you do with having top-level units being defensive with like Raylan or Rats and things to that regard. So I like the fact that Raylan is as strong as she is, but I know some out there would disagree. But
no, I think that's a good point. I personally tend to swing, but I do think that's a good point of just like how she affects the gameplay overall. Because I mean, honestly, if the high level meta was just bring the most, like, not that I think like every army needs to be uber defensive, but if it was just like you said, Cyprian, and you're just rolling d20s to win, I wouldn't enjoy that as much as having those defensive options, because she does kind of like allow a variety of armies as well. So I do like that about her. Yeah,
for sure. You also always get interesting choices with like, when do you want to occasionally take your figure outside the aura to do something fun? And doing that at the rare right time could be an important swinging point in the matchup. But obviously, both armies here do have Raylan, which I would certainly expect to see at most versions of the finals of VCheese, probably.
Yeah, agreed. I think you might see Knights without Raylan, but I mean, it made made sense for the point total here, as well as I mean just the meta in general. I think Raylan makes sense with Knights here.
Yeah. And just one last note on Heroscaper 2010's army before we get started. He does have to actually sit in single Arrowgrut. So I believe it's
Oh,
six
that's true.
squads of arrow Gruts, but it's one figure over the 24 hex limit. So you've got one under arrow Grut on the board.
It's true. I'd forgotten about that, but yeah, that's definitely a good point to bring up. Bunches of Herogruts could have had more, if only. But all right, without further ado, we can go ahead and hop into this game and get it rocking and rolling, and we'll see how this works out. So I'm really excited to see that. I mean, like I've seen it before, but I think Mimring again as a not used enough figure. I feel like 8 range, 6 move flying is huge. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the game. Of course, as I say that, Heroscaper2010 is going with the Morrow Warriors.
Yeah, we got a pretty pure Morrow Warrior open. It looks like 3 out of the 4 order markers on Morrow Warriors. I would imagine that's 1, 2, and 3. With what looks to be a pretty pure Knights opening on the other standpoint. Guessing Heroscaper2010 is just trying to get a couple of pot shots at the Knights on the flank who aren't in Raylan's aura. Maybe in round 1, try to bring down that number of Knights from 16 to 14 or something that's slightly more manageable. You've also got the Clionesia glyph at the top of the map, which is makes the Morrow Warriors a lot stronger.
Oh yeah.
So that certainly encourages the opening play that Heroscaper2010 has chosen.
Yeah, I've seen so many strong openings when you've got this glyph on the board with Morrow Warriors, because I mean 6 move, they can run right in, and you give those Morrow Warriors an extra attack die. So 4 from height, it's crazy, especially against a slow developing army like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course I say slow developing, and he rolls 6 symbols with his Gender's Dispatch.
Generally slow developing. You can, you know, sometimes you have nice rolls.
Yeah, you'd love to see those 6 symbols, which I feel like happens more than you would expect.
One of the challenges with running Knights or any mostly melee matchup into something with the type of range that Mimring does is just to try and avoid getting too strung out while reaching. Usually there's some form of a compromise between rushing, you know, just one squad all the way across the board and slow rolling to the extent that Mimring has a chance to take like 3 rounds of attacks at you before you get engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, trying to strike that balance based on the particulars of the match, the map rather, is definitely something to watch out for in terms of how Boromir wants to try to roll those Knights through the board. That being said, I think that this is not one of the most ideal maps for Mimring or any of the longer range dragons, just because the ruins and the castle spaces can really mess with line of sight and make it a little difficult to place larger figures who like to have wings that take up lots of space, like Mimring does. So it's probably a little bit of a tougher map to try and place Mimring on than some of the other options. And you can see Boromir dropping a knight right back to the left of the castle in his own start zone, trying to, you know, taking good advantage of using those line of sight blockers to stop the Morrow Warriors or Mimring from shooting from as far out.
Yeah, this is such a good map to just like disrupt those line of sights, and that's a good point about like the dragon placement too. Because you could go here. I mean, like all the good places for dragons are like, you know, more exposed than you'd like to be, or they're more reserved than you'd like to be. Like if you want to go for a good line of sight, you're also on low ground down here. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Boromir also takes the glyph to deny that from the Morrow Warriors.
Looks like the Morrow Warriors are retreating back a little bit, trying to avoid getting tied down.
Yeah, definitely wants to avoid engagement as long as possible, while also getting off good shots. Looks like he's got some really good placements throughout. An attack there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An attack here if that one goes through.
Trying to check for line of sight. Although even if it is line of sight, that's going to end up being a 2v6.
Right.
So not the most likely attack in the world.
You'd like better. You'd definitely like better.
In an ideal world, would have had better if that 6 shield dispatch or 6 symbol dispatch hadn't let that knight get onto the Clionesia glyph quite so quickly.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's kind of disrupted what Heroscaper2010 wanted to do. But yeah, good kill.
There's a nice quick attack. 3 out of 3, bringing down a knight.
Here's that 2v6. Not quite, not quite. And there's another one. Yeah, 2 kills. And
2 kills is a pretty solid opening.
Yeah.
Especially getting the one on the glyph.
2 kills, killed a couple, probably the 2 most forward knights as well. And so that, you know, positioning wise, that kind of kills the forward momentum that Boromir had. Of course, I'm not certain exactly how he's wanting, like you said, there's that balance between rushing out and developing. I'm sure he'd love to just like develop up to here, but how much time does he have? Because he also needs to make sure he's not getting hit by 4 attack Mara warriors at the same time.
So average symbols roll this time from Boromir. I'm interested to see right now how many knights end up trying to go around that northern flank versus going straight up the center. Those seem to be the 2 biggest options for trying to reach the Mara warriors right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can get like 2 knights onto the road and then have them survive, you've got a pretty good shot of being able to pin down those Mara warriors basically anywhere that's not retreating back to their start zone. And look at this, we have a fun little math lesson in the chat box.
Dicel popping in with the cool facts. Odds of getting 6 symbols on dispatch is 0.66%, or I would count those numbers if I
feel free to read and follow along at home. You're welcome to do that. Fairly unlikely is the short version.
Yeah.
So it looks like Boromir is going to try and push mostly through the dead center there. Re-grabbing the glyph on the north. Getting 1 knight on road. Although that 1 knight is also the only one that's not in Raylan's aura.
Right.
You also might end up seeing Heroscaper2010 just sort of retreat the Mara warriors at this point, though. Because you've got at least 1 more order marker from Boromir this round. And then the possibility of an initiative switch would likely end up killing any Mara warrior that doesn't retreat. So it'd be a pretty big risk, I'd say, for Heroscaper2010 to stay aggressive with the Mara warriors at this point. Now, maybe you feel that you need that you need to take the higher variance move, but an initiative switch could be quite painful for sure.
Yeah, agreed. It looks like, well, with that first placement, it looks like he's going for trying to keep some pressure on, which, like, if you're thinking 1 turn down the road is okay, I guess if he's going there, then that can be scary. Although that's 2 3v4s that he has to be able to get rid of that knight, potentially 3 depending on how he positions this. And if that's the only knight that's in danger, well, I guess you've also got the dispatch roll, which can be a wild card in getting knights up there. So, yeah, it's tricky at this point.
Another thing to watch out for with knights especially is, even if they don't start on the road at the beginning of the turn, they could still end up using the road bonus if they end up dispatching onto the road.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
I believe they would still be able to use the road bonus. So they're a fun little corner case there where you can do a lot of really neat stuff with dispatch.
Mm-hmm.
Although now that I say that, I'm not 100% certain, and I feel like I could be remembering that rule wrong.
No, I think you're right. Like if this guy gets dispatched onto road, that's during Gilbert's turn, and so then you would start the knight turn, and it would be starting on road. So yeah, I think you're correct there. Which is, yeah, that's a really good. I mean, dispatch is such a nifty power in a lot of ways. Oh, you got the Raylan development coming in, which is definitely a good choice. It was nice for getting out of her aura, and when you've got 80 points invested into her, you need her being active.
This is interesting. So this order marker on Raylan, I'd say, really helps out Heroscaper2010 in that you're almost certain, even with the initiative switch, you're likely not going to get most of those Mara warriors caught.
It's interesting looking at where Raylan might go. Looks like he was considering up here. Oh, okay, going for...
I actually really like that spot where Raylan's currently placed that. I'm hoping that stays. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at possible Raylan spots, and you just have to be really aggressive with Raylan in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford to sit back and wait too long. You're going to just keep taking shots from Mara warriors or Mimring the whole game. And that's a really nice spot in that there aren't that many places Mimring can actually get nice line of sights. The line directly going to the top right only has 4 spaces before you hit a line of sight blocker.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those can be caught by knights pretty easily. And on the flip side, anywhere that's on the bottom right line is all at least adjacent to road. So again, you're going to be able to get knights in right up and in the grill of a Mimring if Mimring tries to get adjacent too much. So I'm definitely a fan of that spot. Probably leave Raylan for the rest of the game, or at least most of the game. And we see another pretty pure Mara Warriors round. Definitely getting their points in this game. Yeah, I mean, they're still there. You might as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble with the. Well, I guess not too much, but I mean, the initiative did pay off as well with being able to grab Milanova to boost these attacks, and now you've got some attacks of 4 on Raylan, which, yeah, that's a lot of attack on Raylan.
It is, but those Mara Warriors, at least 3 of them are likely to get engaged by knights this turn.
That's true.
Depending on what dispatch allows. So the one on the glyph is certainly going to get engaged, unless he manages to kill that knight, and then there's a bad dispatch roll.
Right.
Okay, well, that was part 1.
I will say, I wish that attack was on Raylan so bad. Because that was a 3v4 either way. And like if that was the final 2 wounds on Raylan, that would be incredible for Heroscaper 2010 right now.
It would be. I think that Heroscaper really wanted to have a better shot at that Mara Warrior not being able to be engaged, though.
Right, which makes sense. But I think killing Raylan versus killing a knight, I think killing Raylan is, or even like, dealing 1 more wound to her. If you're hoping to deal a wound one way or another, and the roll is the same 3v4, personally, I think I'd rather, kill Raylan, get Raylan down to 1 wound so that you can have a better shot.
And so with this dispatch roll, Boromir is still going to be able to get a knight adjacent to the Mara Warrior. So that's, unfortunate for Heroscaper 2010. It really needed a poor dispatch roll to be able to hold that spot too well. You're likely to get a knight up on that 2 hex to the left of the glyph that's attacking down. Probably going to get a knight adjacent to the Mara Warrior in the center of the map as well, that he'll be tied up.
Yeah,
and you may end up being able to get it adjacent to the one on the north too, which would be huge. So if 1 more knight Gilbert dispatches up onto the road, which I suspect will be the case, then each of the Mara Warriors will end up being tethered.
Yeah, which you hate to see, or you love to see, depending on who you are.
This is true. Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess there was not a chance to get a second one on the road.
Oh, right, yeah, with only the 2 there. But yeah, that's so 1 Mara Warrior down, a potential, well, I'd say a fairly likely second one, and then you've got one of your other ones tied down. Not quite the round that Heroscaper 2010 was hoping for. 1, 2, 3. Still can't quite.
If they can somehow manage to kill Raylan, it'll certainly be worth it, even with the loss of activations.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But there's only going to be really one shot left to try and pull that off with, likely without the Clionesia glyph anymore. So that'll be tough.
Survives.
I don't think that one will.
Yeah, no, not quite. Now
this is an interesting spot. I think there's a very solid argument for disengaging with the southernmost Mara Warrior to try to get an extra shot on Raylan.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like keeping the Mara, you're probably not gonna kill the knight, and the Mara Warrior being stuck there doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's no benefit no benefit from staying there, I guess, and only benefit to well, I guess not only, but the upside is so good. I could see that.
Just with how good of a spot Raylan is in with regards to Mimring attacks. Yep, and I agree.
Right, didn't pay off, but I mean, it was dead in the water anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's not fun to take the disengage against knights, but there's just really not another option there.
Right, and I don't think in this case you're too worried about the forward momentum piling up on you, because he is likely to be staying back with Raylan. That said, a retreat into a water clone instead of the Raylan shot, which.
So I think if the one happens to survive the double disengage, I think you end up staying forward with both and taking 2 shots down on Raylan.
Mm-hmm.
But with just the one shot, there's a better argument for end up making that retreat.
Yeah, more of a play for the end game. I think I agree with that. I think it makes a lot of sense to do that retreat and try to build up Mara Warriors, because I mean, if it works out and you have Mara Warriors for the end game or even mid game still, then that's a nice spot to be in. Mara Warriors do work
for sure. And there's still, who won initiative this round? Heroscaper 2010.
Yeah,
I think.
did.
Yeah, so he's got one more order marker still on the Mara Warriors. Well, likely. I suppose it could be on Raylan, but I'd be a little surprised if it was.
Yeah, Raylan without the rest of your figures developed is a little bit iffy at this point.
Iffy, suicidal, pick your word out of the group. And going all Mara Warriors this round is a bit of a risk, but given that Boromir has Raylan in the army, I think it's slightly less of a risk, because this is a Knight's army that wants to charge the start zone less than a Knight's army without Raylan.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Raylan was replaced by another squad of Knights, for instance, I think that this is going all Mara Warriors is a significantly bigger risk, because they're going to be just perfectly willing to charge your start zone and start hacking away at Gruts.
Yeah, I agree. But at this point, like you said, with Raylan, especially right here, you still got some knights that you want to develop as well. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 knights. So those Mara Warriors have already killed 5 knights.
Yeah, they definitely put in some solid work. 5 knights and 3 out of 5 Raylan.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of work. I mean, yeah, even with that that death to disengage and not killing Raylan, I mean that's a bunch of work for a 50-point squad.
Now the challenge from this point on in the matchup for Heroscaper 2010 is really just going to be making sure that knights can never engage Mimring.
Mm-hmm.
And with dispatch, that's not an easy challenge, borderline impossible. But even just one knight getting onto Mimring can just completely destroy.
Oh yeah, because I mean
all
Mimring
of the offense.
Yeah, so fragile. I've run Mimring a few times because I'm a big Mimring fan, and I can remember a lot of games where I've left a small hole in a screen or made a small mistake with positioning. Mimring gets engaged or Mimring gets caught by something and just falls so quickly. 5 life, 3 defense is not great. Raylan will help, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like especially with Mimring, maybe it's just my luck, or maybe it's just the games that I remember, but I feel like especially with Mimring.
Now, Mimring is just a lot more fragile than all the other top options for dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely the reason you don't see Mimring as often, because the special attack is awesome. 8 range is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
But that 3 defense, 5 life, compared to like the other top dragons you're going to see in the VC meta, Quaihan has the same defense but 2 more life. Nilfheim with an extra life and an extra defense is just so much more survivability. And then when you pair that against knights, to where disengages are extra painful.
Oh yeah, because you really want to be able to disengage with Mimring.
So Heroscaper 2010 did have the order marker on Raylan, which surprises me a little bit. I do like the aggressive. Again, I like the aggressive Raylan movement. I don't know. I definitely wasn't expecting that.
Right. I'm trying to think. I do like this placement because there's only one spot where the knights can get hide on her. And
when they do, they're outside of their Raylan.
Right, and so it's a good temptation there.
And he certainly draws them in.
Mm-hmm.
And The upside here with the possibility of an initiative switch is quite high. So I certainly see why Boromir would take the risk to leave the aura to take these shots in.
Ooh, and 5 symbols there, so that's definitely working out there.
That's fantastic. And so one of the knights, you're going to get at least 2 attacks on Raylan now. Yeah, I just think you need to make this Raylan move on an order marker 1 instead of 3 so that you don't have the possibility of an initiative switch.
Right, and you can have some follow-up. I agree,
If you know that Mimring is guaranteed to be the next turn, this is just such a much bigger risk for Boromir that you maybe don't even. Well, maybe you still feel you have to make it, but if you do make it, you're liking it a lot less. If there's a 100% chance of Mimring taking the next turn instead of a 50% chance.
Right.
Those dispatch rolls have been just
really
music for Boromir though in this game.
Oh yeah.
a 5 and a 6 is just such good development. You take a 4 move figure and all of a sudden it's moving 10 spaces. You're just sort of floored as the opponent.
Oh yeah, it's knights are dispatch, I guess. Knights also, but dispatch is just such a good power.
Let's see, this is the first one. So those 2 will both be boosted by Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have a 4v3 and a 5v3.
Okay, so maybe one more attack. Unless he opts to go for more development instead. But I do like, kind of like you said, this is okay, going for the Morrowind. I didn't see that one move.
Yeah, and I like that too. It's basically anytime you can take a risk, if you can accomplish something with a knight that doesn't leave that knight in a fire line with other knights, it's usually going to be worth it at this stage in the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, Mimring can certainly take a turn and kill that knight, but then you've got all the rest of the knights rolling up elsewhere, which is you're totally fine with making that trade-off to limit the Morrow Warriors for later. Some fantastic defense though from Raylan.
Yeah,
that could have gone much worse for Heroscaper.
Yeah, that's nuts good defense and
Boromir, you're very sad by that, but at the same time, it was possible because of the 5 dispatch. So the dice giveth and they taketh away.
That's true. Yeah, they just want Boromir to be able to get into the action. They don't necessarily want him to be able to fight once he gets there.
Boromir does get the initiative switch though.
Nice.
Which is going to be pretty huge. And a big problem right now is that those 2 knights that there isn't a great fire line. You would want to hit maybe the 2 knights that are next to Raylan to the left and right, but if you do that, you hit Raylan too.
Oh, yeah.
And all the spots to line Mimring up from there, like the only ranged spot is jumping into the water just outside the start zone, which isn't a great spot.
Right.
So the last Morrow Warrior for Heroscaper seems likely to fall in the near future. And I would assume that he's going to take 3 more attacks in on Raylan.
Yeah, that would be my guess. We'll see how well she holds up this turn. A 3, a 4, and a 5. That's liable to do a good amount of damage. Didn't do it last time, but I mean, still a big chance there. Oh, going all in on Raylan.
4 attacks on Raylan.
I like it because it would be nice to kill that forward momentum for Heroscaper, as well as free up those knights that are now tied down by Raylan.
Yeah. And 1 defense arrow Gruts are just fun to attack.
Oh yeah. And Dicel coming back in, 2.84% for 5 symbols, compared to I think it was a 0.66.
It's like almost 5 times more likely.
Yeah.
That's just practically easy by comparison.
Yeah, that's really crazy.
See, it looks like 3 wounds as well. So both Raylan's now down at 3 out of 5, but Boromir's Raylan's pretty happy with where she's hiding at. Oh,
right, very very happy. Not doing as much as Boromir would like, I'm sure, but it's a good spot. And I think you bring Mimring here and swap the other way. I guess that works too. But if you brought him here, you could fireline hit those 2 knights.
Possibly, if you can see them. You probably can.
Yeah, if you poke the head out to like right here, I think you've... Because that's the fun thing about Mimring. You can fireline from the tail and have the head out here, and it works.
Now, I'm not sure Mimring could have made it that far, though, actually, because I think that was the max 6 move to get there.
Oh, yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's as far as Mimring was able to get. I do agree, certainly agree, though. In theory, you know, taking out knights here is better than taking shots on Gilbert, for sure.
Yeah, because I think at this point, for Heroscaper 2010, the big thing that he's still got going for him is the crazy amount of numbers that he's got. And so I think he wants to play that numbers game. If he can dwindle the rest of these knights quickly enough, then he's got a pretty good shot. But if the knights start trading with the, arrow Gruts who only have 1 defense, then things are gonna go south pretty quick for him.
That being said, because all those knights are tied on Raylan for now, there's Mimring's basically got a turn where maybe you can just sort of sit there and wait, because those knights aren't going to want to be disengaging all over the place.
Right, yeah. And that is one, I guess, weakness of the version of the knights that Boromir brought, where he's got fewer knights and Raylan in play, is because I know I've been listening to Casters of Valhalla, and I've heard Matthias talking about like the tricks with knights that you can pull with dispatch, and like disengage with dispatch, and if it survives, then you go in for like Mimring in this situation, which would sound nice if he had another squad of knights around to back up it, just in case those didn't work out. But where you're down on numbers and your development is more strung out than you want it to be, that's not a very appealing option right now.
Yeah, I think there's still an argument for it, again, just because of how strong it is to be able to get a knight on a bad direction for the line of fire from Mimring, but it's super high variance. The way you do it here is you'd have to get at least 2 on dispatch. You'd put that forward knight into the water space near the start zone, because you have to avoid a second leaving engagement off the arrow Gret.
Yeah.
And so you need the 2 to get there. If it survives, then it ends up probably getting around just below Mimring to force Mimring to take a fire line in a bad direction, which is pretty solid, but it's certainly a large risk to try and get there. Looks like we're waiting on a defense roll at the moment.
Yeah, possibly something IRL. I had to step away for a second, or I'm not certain.
But I didn't see the highlighting, so I'm not sure who that attack was on. My guess is that it's on the knight that's next to the Mara Warrior, but I did not see the highlighting, so I could easily be incorrect.
I saw the earlier one. I know at least the first attack was against that knight. Yeah, I'm not certain. So while that's going on, what do you think about... So I think one of the more interesting parts of this army, or like I guess one of my favorite parts about the army, is you've got the arrow Gruts that kind of double as a screen, as well as like, kind of not a super strong offensive power, but the pings aren't nothing.
Yeah.
In this position, do you think you'd play them more as a screen or more as a, like we've got right here, they're grouping up for the attacks from height. With
so I'm largely a fan of almost always using them as a screen. That being said, this is a like one-off position where the knights all being tied up means that they've basically screened themselves.
Right.
In general, I'm a fan of using them as a screen any situation that is necessary, though.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm also, though, a fan of having Raylan behind that screen.
Yes.
Although it looks like we're rolling again. So the arrow Gret does take out that knight up in the north, though.
Yeah, which is great. I think at this point, if you're killing anything with arrow Gruts, it's bonus money, or I don't know, however you want to say it. It's just extra. It's really nice. You're not counting on it, but there will be some attacks that go through, and those will be really, really nice in the long game, being able to push your advantage. And Gilbert coming forward, nice.
Yeah, I like this. I think you you take the disengage obviously, but with 6 life you don't really care, and you stop Mimring from being able to fireline into anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And you sort of stop Mimring from being able to get into Raylan's aura, at least in a way that would be easy.
You can't just hop up here. Not that would, I mean, you'd be next to knights anyway, but... Oh, another thing I love about Gruts, I don't know if this will come into play. I don't remember if this comes into play, but one thing I do like about Gruts that aren't being... when you don't need to keep them in one place with Swag Riders is disengage with a ranged squad is really, really nice. To just like be like,
yes.
No, and I shoot what
disengage
I want.
is quite amazing. I wish that Quahan bonded with the Gruts.
Oh, that'd be nuts.
That would be a fun pairing, but alas. I do find it interesting though that the current VCheese meta for dragons has all 3 of these dragons bonding with a different squad.
That's true. Yeah, and I think
which is a very cool development beyond what you have in the non-VCheese meta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree, because I also kind of remember like I mean back when Greenscales came out a bit later maybe even up till now, there being kind of like a sentiment with the Greenscales where like, oh, Greenscales, they're, if you want to run a dragon, you just run them with Greenscales now, and it kind of like limits that army building. But yeah, like you said, you've got those different options. Mimring has always had the Gruts and has never really been great with Greenscales because he doesn't really want a melee squad getting in the way of the fire line.
Yeah,
and also
just at the point when you're running Greenscales, you've just got better dragon options.
Yeah. And then Quahan, I mean, works well enough with the Greenscales, but I mean, spiders are just so much better. Plus, she was maybe a little bit more designed to play with. I don't know how intentional that was, but she plays really, really well with spiders.
Quahan and I think spiders are basically just almost strictly better than Greenscales to begin with. But one of the nice things about Quahan is that you don't want to do it very often, but occasionally you want to not fireline, but lightning breath through one of your own figures. And doing that through a Raylan-backed spider is just a lot more fun, because even when it goes through, you're losing so many less points than you are off Greenscales.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I think not advising you do that frequently. I would say I think it's a very niche option, but occasionally you will find yourself in a spot where you might want to chain it through your own people.
I've seen that come up enough that it's cool you've got that interesting choice and option always available to you. And just 1 second.
Sure.
Unpause and unpause. There we go.
I am a fan of Quahan myself. I think of the 3 dragons, she's the one I would pick. I mean, she's the one I did pick for this tournament, but yeah. I think I'm still convinced that I like Quahan and Spiders is the best of the dragon meta, but I definitely prefer a meta where you have multiple different bonding squads for different dragons to be able to do some fun stuff with.
Yeah, it definitely spices up things a lot, and just just having the options is nice. That's one thing I do like about what this VCheese, but both of the VCheese tournaments have shown so far, is that there's been a lot of variety. I mean, you've got frickin' Mimring with straight Gruts, which is awesome to see the variety that there's there. Maybe that dies down potentially as the VCheese meta is explored more. Maybe, since it just hasn't been explored as much at this point, maybe it's just like kind of the freshness / people wanting to play things. But I mean, right now, it's like the world is yours as far as what you want to bring.
Well, I think the biggest difference between VCheese meta and non-VCheese meta is that there's a couple army archetypes that have really hard counters in VCheese. Where true. The counter isn't strong enough to win the whole tournament, but it will definitely win the matchup against the thing it's designed for. Cathar and the cultists are, I think, the 2 biggest examples of that, where they have such bad matchups against enough, like a ranged common squad, they're just going to get obliterated by. But if they run into their all melee or their dragon matchup, they just run straight through it. So it's a little bit interesting in that I think that the Quahan Spiders build is certainly one of the top armies out there, but it's just so scared of hitting a cultist build in round 1.
Oh yeah. That would be really scary. I think, I mean, the cultists seem okay. They were tried out a little bit in this one, but yeah, they struggle into just about anything that's not their ideal matchup. I think dwarves are just better, basically.
Dwarves are good. Well, I mean, the into dragon specifically, that auto shield is amazing. But yeah, I think they're just not going to be able to would beat anything else that shows up in a VCheese tournament. And I think that's probably why you see Doc running basically the same army in both VCheeses, which is the still classic version of Raylan Rats Q9. Just because of all the top armies, I think it's the top army that has the least horrible matchups that it can run into. Like it just doesn't have the uber hard counters that are built for it. I'm not sure how often it would beat, say, a Quahan build, an optimized Quahan build. I really like Quahan going into that Q9 matchup because you have the ability to chain the lightning through the rats back into Raylan or back into Q9, which is a really neat sort of aspect of that. But it's interesting. I think that the top of the VCheese meta is still yet to be anywhere near fully explored.
Yeah, as far as like what is really the best up there. Yeah, I agree. I think most people probably expected Quahan to be at the top of this one. I was actually surprised that you were the only one to bring Quahan to this tournament because
there was one other Quahan, but it wasn't with Raylan. It was a Quahan with another bonding hero for the spiders.
Oh, that's right. Kozel.
Kozel, yes. And that Quahan did hit cultists.
That's right. I do remember.
And that Quahan did get destroyed by cultists. So cultists Quahan is wont to do. Yeah, that's the poor matchup, unfortunately. There's just not a lot you can do about that.
Yeah. I remember that now. That was a pretty sad story, really. Of all the matchups.
I don't remember if that was round 1 or round 2, but yeah, the Quahans in this event got beaten pretty quickly. Sadly.
Yeah, sadly. Well, and then you've also got like Doc's build has, it lost a round 1 last time to some big 5 dice explosions, and then this one, I don't remember which. Oh, it was the 4th, right? I think.
I'm not sure which round Doc got knocked out in this tournament. I didn't watch the game, so I don't remember who it was against.
Yeah, I think it was against Bodacious Blood, I believe. Beat Doc. Was playing a 4th build, and I think Sergeant Drake. He had Sergeant Drake with them for Valiance, and I think he went nuts on Q9 and Hydra to win the game.
Yeah, Drake can pull some big attacks in there for sure. I think more than anything else, though, the outcomes of a couple of the Quahans and Doc's 2 games really are more just showing the variance that's inherent in a pure bracket as opposed to a 2-loss and you're out type of event.
Yeah.
Because I remember especially in the VCheese one with those just the 1 or 2 big attacks that went into Q9 and just obliterated him for unlikely but possible outcomes are not things you're going to see too often, but you can hit some unfun variants.
Exactly.
As it were.
Yeah, and I mean, like for Doc's build, for example, it's not as represented, since he's been the only one to bring that build so far, and so you're not seeing it against as much of a variety of matchups as you would usually expect to when you're going into the VCheese things. Or I guess
I think part of that is a lot of people don't want to play that particular army.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, like, say I look at it, I'm like, that's a good build. I can't play that well enough personally, so I'm not gonna worry about it.
I will say I strongly considered bringing it both times.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was originally the army. I was going to bring that for VCheese 1 originally, and then I wanted to try out knights instead because I felt I didn't have enough practice with knights. I still feel I don't have enough practice with knights, but I wanted to try and get some just games in with the knights build.
Mm-hmm.
For the VCheese 2, I was between the army that Doc brought and the Quahan build for a while. I actually expected there to be some heavy Gruts in this event. I've talked to a few people after the fact, and apparently I was the only one who thought that. So I was probably wrong, but I thought that the heavies build was decent.
Yeah, I still think heavies are struggling in the VCheese meta as a whole due to Cathar plus just a lot of other builds that they don't really like to play in.
Yeah, I mean Cathar certainly hurts them a lot.
Yeah.
But they really like that Q9 matchup.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But also you don't see that Q9 matchup as often as...
This is true. This is true. Let's see. And we have... we were waiting a little while for the result of Boromir's turn here after that first disengage had happened. But now we see what looks like...
It's in development, and he would
just one symbol this time.
Yeah. All right, there's a dead Raylan, so that's great for Boromir.
Yeah, for sure. And more importantly, 4 knights that are now untied and free to charge after Mimring.
Ooh, and the old Arrowgret block.
So I think Heroscaper 2010. Yeah, I think you have to take the running away here. I actually think there's an argument for taking it, leaving engagement and running even further. Well, this is a pretty nice fire line.
Right, yeah, you've got the 3 figures there, and you can do this and block off passages well enough, I think. I can see this working out.
So I would expect Heroscaper 2010 to then just end up, doing exactly what you said, throw Arrowgrets into as many of those openings as you can block with.
Yeah, just block here. You know, you don't really care if they're being attacked from height because you just want to keep Mimring from being attacked.
Yeah, I mean, one defense, they're gonna die regardless of how and when they're being attacked. So they're just temporary blocks. See, a very nice fire line though. Extremely well timed 3 out of 4.
Oh yeah, that's huge. Gilbert to 5 wounds, so only 1 more wound to finish him off, and killing a knight. That's great. And moving in an Arrowgret to tie this guy off. Which, let's see, tied. So yeah, actually these knights are all tied, so you don't even need to worry as much about blocking this spot off. You could throw up your other 2 here to block it off, or just 1 to block off here.
I think you just really just need 1 to block off the south, because and I like this a lot, because you're going to end up taking a heighted shot on Gilbert now to try and kill him, which should be quite massive if it goes through. Fortunately, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the 3rd Arrowgret that... Oh, maybe he's going to take a 2nd shot at Gilbert.
Oh, gotcha. I would have
don't like that decision. I think you have to block off the south.
Yeah, because that's
you're now going to get 2 knights engaged with Mimring. In all probable... Well, I guess 1 knight might be out of the aura.
Right.
For disengage, so maybe just 1. But
even still, that's an attack of 4 against 3 that you don't want him to take.
And then Mimring just can't run away at that point, because the 3 disengage between the knight and Gilbert is just too much.
A great time for a tie for initiative.
Although maybe Mimring will manage to escape and not have to worry about it, thanks to
there you go. Yeah,
initiative switch.
Yeah, that's a great time for an initiative switch to...
No, I think there's a decent argument for just staying where you are and hitting that same fire line again. You toast one of your own Arrowgrets, but you don't really care.
Right. I think I'd probably go here and then toast this way. So
you still toast one of your...
Yeah, but I think I'd rather hit 2 knights instead of Gilbert Knight. maybe. I don't
I
know.
guess part of with Gilbert being this wounded, just removing the ability to dispatch those is quite important
That's
for
true.
slowing up
That's
those
true.
knights rolling up. Did Mimring just attack Gilbert?
Yeah, looks like he wanted to avoid toasting his own Arrowgrat, which
I think you just have to toast your own guy there.
yeah,
It's kind of like, I mean, the guy doesn't, the Arrowgrat doesn't love it very much, but the collective Arrowgrat is a fan, I think.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
like,
it does go through. Take out
nice,
Gilbert.
nice.
But you can still get a knight adjacent to Mimring is the problem here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
I
just
think
open
you
that up.
just
You
have
needed to
to
block that
tie
up.
off that south guy with an Arrowgrat.
Yeah, because it goes right in there, and that
Your win condition here is that Mimring, you have Mimring alive with facing less than a squad of knights, and you just can't afford to be taking double disengages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the way that Orc Elf Army 1 puts it is just such a good way when he says, like, your bonding squad is just extra lives for your hero. I think that's especially true with Mimring, because Mimring is so fragile. I mean, even 3v3s are just like too much of a risk to be taking.
Yeah, and I'd say that that's certainly very true in every top dragon build that's out there. And, a fair amount of the non-dragon ones too. I mean, Blade Gruts and Romans come to mind.
Yeah,
as top examples for that. But you just gotta, I think you gotta toast your own guy there.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you've got some collateral damage with Fireline, I think you kind of need to expect that going in, and you can play around it as much as possible. But when it happens, it's not as big of a deal as like what being able to kill a knight gets you, or having that chance to kill a knight gets you.
Yeah,
especially when the numbers are in this position. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 squads of knights left, so you really want to just like get them down below a squad as quickly as possible.
Although with Gilbert gone, those 3 knights who are ways far back are going to take a while for them to actually get in the fray.
That's true, yeah.
And this is the big one. 2 out of 3.
Okay, just 1 wound. Could have been worse, but again, if you don't want to disengage from that.
Yeah, and so now Mimring's really just going to have to stay there and fireline that guy.
Yeah.
Again, I think I'd just fireline 2 knights and your own guy.
Yeah, just back up a space and hit that line. I think that's a great play, and then block up this spot. I mean, I guess that knight's not going to get there quite yet, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he can hit 2, but I don't love the disengage. If he's going to do that, he really needs to block off both of these spots.
But the problem with this one is that the second guy is Heighted and Rayland.
Right.
Which just doesn't go through enough, I don't think. You get the front guy, but yeah. Well, that's quite the defense. But even a non-outrageous roll there is still going to block it most of the time. So yeah, you've highlighted exactly where some Arrowgrats should certainly drop in to fill off.
You should not move that guy.
Where's the screen?
Yeah, he's just putting guys on height. He's going. I mean,
he's going to try and kill that knight instead. I don't think you need the variants at this point, though.
Yeah,
I think you've got enough Arrowgrats that you can afford to just throw them out as a complete screen and not care when they die.
Exactly. Yeah, the 2v4 isn't reliable enough that. I mean, I think you're just relying on Mimring. You make a screen.
5 whole squads of Arrowgrats left.
Yeah.
Attacks of 2 just don't get it done.
Yeah, not like it's too haphazard when it happens. You can't count on it happening at all. So I think it's a mistake to rely on that. I mean, it's kind of like the same if you're doing, basically any other dragon squad, like especially spiders come to mind. The attacks of 2, they'll go through it once in a while, but you're not counting on them to.
Yeah, and it's not why they're there.
It's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the way with pretty much any of the dragon squads is like the question is, where do I have to put the bonding squad? And then if I have any left over, it's what fun stuff can I do with this extra guy or 2?
Mm-hmm.
But so let's see. We get, in terms of knight placement, it's pretty solid. The only real fireline potential involves one of them being within Raylan, and you have to toast 2 of your own guys to do it.
Yeah, and you'd have to disengage.
You have to disengage to do that anyways.
Yeah. And that's the other thing you want. You really want Mimring to be able to fireline from safety. So I'd rather have this spot be empty so that you can fireline through it from back here and just have Mimring blocked off. Because if this is not occupied, this just becomes a big speed bump for knights as they try to get to Mimring.
For sure.
Mimring blocks the attack though, so that's I'm trying not to be too biased, but I'll be honest. I'm a little bit biased towards Mimring because I all of what I was thinking and feeling while I was watching this live is coming back, and I'm like, come on, Mimring.
Rooting for the underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely agree with taking that single attack on the knight there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, well, this time especially, you don't even have to add more arrow Gruts up. Like, your screen's already in place, so this time Mimring's actually completely safe.
Yeah, so that's worked out really, really well for him. And you can keep reinforcing this position, and you can, I mean, let's see, 6 knights now, 2 of them really far back. Oh, I didn't even notice earlier grabbing Oleneva for the Morrow Warrior play when it comes out.
Yeah. We'll certainly see if that ends up staying relevant. I mean, if Mimring's still alive, Mimring should be able to toast that guy in the late game pretty...
Right. 4, 5,
well, it's
6,
it's
7,
not the
8.
easiest spot because of the castle, but Mimring should still be able to take him out.
Yeah. You can just sit back, and that's the position Mimring wants to be at, is just like be able to sit back, 8 range, you know. Fireline is nice when it hits multiple guys, but I think just the pressure of being like, okay, I'm sitting at 8 range, what are you going to do about it, is just really nice.
Yeah.
And there you go. There you see a nice arrow credit attack going through.
The knights are down to 1 squad, and Boromir switches over.
Nice. Good timing, too. End of the round, going into the next one.
Yeah, I like this timing a lot. Because, like you were mentioning, you don't want to move the knight off of Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
The other knight that's back in your start zone isn't ever going to make it engaged. So...
Right. This one can kill an arrow.
Very well calculated switch over.
Yeah. I mean, great timing, because the knights can't even hope to make it to Mimring, so you're killing, 2 arrow Gruts, and that's just not quite enough at this point. It's not bad, but it's not quite enough. And
Mimring really doesn't like the Morrow Warriors matchup.
Right, yeah.
They will never set up a fire line for him, and they can replenish themselves just as fast as you can kill one of them.
Mm-hmm. Which is like, oh, I hate it when I'm going into the end game against Morrow Warriors, and I'm like, is this even going to be possible? And right now, there's enough arrow Gruts and Mimring 3 lives still, so it definitely looks doable, but there have been so many times where I've gone into it, and I'm like, it's going to take some insane variance on my part.
So we'll see. At this point, Heroscaper 2010 probably is going to have to get fairly more aggressive with Mimring to try and take out either Raylan or that knight on the glyph, or both, because they're going to just boost the hell out of those Morrow Warriors. I mean, realistically, you should be able to keep all 4 Morrow Warriors and Raylan Aura on height with Clionesia boosting, as long as those supporting pieces are there. 4 attack, 6 defense Morrow Warriors. Yeah, it's easy.
It's fine.
Trivial, even.
Which one do you think you'd go for first out of the glyph, or Raylan?
Probably the glyph.
Okay.
Because it's going to extend Mimring's life longer, not taking those hits.
That's a good point, yeah. And if you can... Yeah, because if you kill the glyph, then he needs to throw a Morrow Warrior onto it, and then that becomes another easy kill, because that's outside of Raylan's aura. Yeah, I like that.
The other reason I'd say is it's also a little bit easier to hit that knight from your start zone safer than it is to hit Raylan. You've got to make yourself a lot more aggressive. Maybe you sent in arrow Gruts, individual arrow Gruts, to try to take off Raylan. Not sure exactly where you could get to. The 1/4 hex on the south end of so just north of yeah, exactly right there. That's a good spot if you can get an arrow Grut too to try and take a shot on Raylan.
Mm-hmm.
Now this arrow Grut would have to not die in order to do that. We'll see if he manages it. Hey, so far so good. Yeah, I think I would send Mimring up to kill the knight this turn to try and take off the glyph knight, and then use an arrow Grut to try and an arrow Grut or two on Raylan. I mean, they're not amazing attacks, but you're just not gonna be able to do anything to those Mara warriors until you take out their support.
Yeah, they're gonna just waste everything, and they can shoot behind the screen if you've got Mimring too close. So yeah, looks like Heroscaper2010 is defiant towards you. Maybe, I don't know.
That's okay. More thoughts, the better.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Because the Raylan...
not a good fire line anywhere else.
Yeah. Oh, wait, what? Going...
The knight and the Mara warrior back. It's a risky spot.
Yeah, I don't love it because you're not taking out either.
You don't really care if that knight's dead. It doesn't accomplish much for you.
Mm-hmm.
That knight's never moving again. If that knight moves again, you're happy.
Right.
1 out of 4.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see. So
because now you're tied down to a knight with Mimring too, which is not an optimal spot to be in.
Yeah, and you're kind of taking attacks from 4. Yeah, I think you're right. He needed to go for either attack or defense to take out one of those supports. Hitting numbers at this point. Earlier it was nice to hit numbers. At this point, it's not as much of a worry as just consistency.
And movement flexibility with Mimring too, which now you don't have.
Tying yourself down to a knight is not happy. Not a happy situation for Mimring.
You're not going to be able to bring that knight down with arrow Gruts either because it's on a 4 height, so you can't get anything better than 1v4 on it.
Yeah, I haven't. He's been relying on the arrow Gruts to do a lot more than I think he can expect out of him.
Well, the attacks at 2 aren't bad, but when the defender's up on 4 height, there's just nothing they can really do.
Yeah, and he's been counting on it too much to like kill I mean, I do like using arrow Gruts to kill stragglers. I think that's great, but relying on it to kill stragglers or to like pick off a knight or to do something like that, I think that's trying to make them shoulder too much of the load. I think you put more of that on Mimring and use the arrow Gruts to balance things out. Yeah, now we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's not quite there. Although you could still come back here. At least 2, probably. I think you could get 4 attacks of 4 on Mimring here.
And I think you take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just get all 4 attacks in on the dragon. Because from Boromir, if you're Boromir here, your win condition is just kill Mimring and have something else alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the arrow Gruts don't have the attack power or the attacks per turn to really finish off the Mara warriors.
And I have to imagine Mimring will fall now. Especially now.
Yeah, that's a big ouchie.
Alright, so then how many arrow Gruts does that leave? 1, 2, 10,
11.
4 squads. 12. Which,
yeah,
11 now, but versus the 4 or 6 Mara warriors, it's just not much of a shooting contest.
Not really, no. The 1 defense doesn't hold through. You can hope for it for some good variance on your part. I mean, if you're looking at,
I hope that northern arrow Grut will take a shot on the knight though.
Mm-hmm.
Removing that extra attack dice would be, well, it's nice, but again, you only have 1 defense, so that 4th attack dice isn't the most relevant. Well, we could have a swingy shot on Raylan.
Oh, not quite.
Not enough.
Okay, kills the knight, though. So that's good. I mean, like you said, the fourth die doesn't matter a ton, but he
And
takes whatever small advantages he can get.
I'm not sure why you're shooting at a knight there.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I think Mara Warrior is definitely the, let's see, 5 versus 6.
I mean, the Mara Warriors will come back, but you want to force them to retreat and have to clone.
Yeah, because if he's cloning, then he's not attacking. And you can't afford for him to be attacking right now, because 1 defense.
I think the better argument for the knight is that it gives you more space, an extra space where you can attack Raylan.
Oh, that's true.
From height on.
That is true.
Which I could see an argument for. But I'm not sure you'll still be alive to take that shot next turn.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think I still take the Mara Warrior shot, but that is a good point.
So that northernmost Arrowgrat should be able to get around and engage Raylan from height on this next turn. Get a 2v3.
Mm-hmm. Could finish off that Raylan. After taking so many wounds so quickly early on.
All of the Arrowgrats, though, still being back in the start zone.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a real hard time charging into those Mara Warriors on height. I don't remember who won initiative this round.
Same, yeah.
We'll find out shortly. It's really a shame that the original programming for this didn't think about how it would affect the 10 Points Under YouTube channel in the year 2021.
Oh, I know, right? It's not as forward thinking as we would have hoped, but yeah, we'll take what we can get.
I speak entirely in jest, of course. I love online Heroscape, and I'm very grateful to the programming that allowed it to happen.
Such a nice, simple, but just great app. I love it. Yeah.
So it looks like Boromir did win initiative. So we get that Arrowgrat swinging around to the north, but unable to finish off Mimring or do anything else.
Right. Unfortunately. Especially when, yeah, you're only rolling 1 attack too for Raylan, but
that leaves 8 Arrowgrats, and it will likely be less by the time they get to take a turn now.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might drop one of them. No, I don't think the Clionesia glyph is worth it at this point, just because the Arrowgrats have such low defense.
Yeah, I think it's.
I think you're better off taking 4 shots at the forward deployed ones who can get to Raylan.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of like inviting them to get a free kill on you. Let's see, why would this Mara Warrior move just to be in Raylan's aura?
Seems like it. I'm not entirely sure why that one's there. I agree with the aura over height, but I think the road to the left to the right bottom of it. I'm sorry, not the road, but the rock to the right bottom of it.
Right bottom, right here.
Yeah, just because it stops an Arrowgrat from being able to jump on the 4 height to the right bottom of it and take that heighted shot on Raylan.
Yeah.
But 1 Arrowgrat falls.
Another one bites the dust.
Bomb.
When it gets into this,
I do not have much musical talent in me, I must admit.
Yeah, that's fine. This isn't a musical show, so you don't need it. You just use what you got.
And so yeah, we are going to get that extra attack down on Raylan now because the Mara Warrior was 1 space off. Does not, however, do anything.
Misses that one. Yeah, this is the part where heroscaper2010 is just hoping for, hopefully a nice Raylan kill, and then let's see. heroscaper2010 lost initiative, so they would love for, their order marker 3, kill a couple Mara Warriors, get an initiative switch, kill the other couple Mara Warriors, and then you're in a good spot. But I mean, like against Mara Warriors, you need that.
Ifs in there, but that's certainly your ideal outcome.
Yeah. just wishing for a perfect world.
That Arrowgrat bites it. And at this point, disengage is basically the only thing that's keeping the Arrowgrats alive at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alright, so 2 down, so 5 Arrowgrats remaining. Not looking great.
Yeah, I think I like these moves though. You give yourself a shot on Raylan. Although that first guy I think could have taken a even ground shot.
This one?
Yeah. If you go straight down, yeah, right
Here.
there on that space that you can highlight it. Although it goes through. Yeah, well, yeah, height. So we'll see. Let's see if it matters, because it could very well make a difference.
Nope.
Okay. Well, it doesn't.
All right.
So Raylan falls anyways. Well, that's step one.
Yeah. Step one in my plan in my make in bring back the win condition for Heroscaper 2010 plan.
Now the 0 for 1 double is probably not step 2 though.
Unfortunately, no.
So without Raylan at this point, you're pretty happy to just get all your Mara warriors up on height and leave them there.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, and you can be a little more aggressive, sort of spreading them out.
Yeah, and especially with the 4 attacks, you're not too worried about too much. You're pretty confident you're going to be killing most stuff.
Yeah. And if you're Boromir and you manage to get all 3 of the forward deployed ones, then the one that ran up can take a shot in the start zone to try and knock it down to 1 arrow Grut. Ooh, and not the clutch quite. 1 out of 1. The not quite as clutch follow through though. So yeah, now you're at 2 arrow Gruts. That one defense is just not workable by itself.
It's okay, we got this. So, oh wait, hang on. Blink that attack and the other. Okay, never mind. So, okay, I was about to highlight the comeback. It's not quite happening. So now the comeback is to just get all the dice. Hey, there's a 20.
There is a 20. You should be able to get even ground / height, yeah. And then you just hope to ping. Well, there you
go.
There's something.
Not another something, but I mean I'm sure that's more than he was hoping for at this point.
You're down to 1, you're down to 3. Although at this point I'm still just attacking with the Mara warriors and not running away.
Yeah. You've only got the
in all likelihood you'll get at least 1 arrow Grut killed here. Which is pretty solid. Yeah, you leave the guy in the glyph just because it's so far out of the action. It gives you a good shot to run away if necessary, and then you take 2 glyph boosted shots.
Ooh, clutch 1 defense. Ooh, another clutch.
Another one. All right. Well, those are required to continue the keep it alive.
He's got this. Nice strategic retreat. Actually, not even strategic retreat. Nice strategic. Going for the glyph.
So if somehow you can get 2 Mara warriors on this turn, then you're opening it up.
I think you go for the 2, right? It looked like for a second he was considering doubling down on the glyph Mara warrior, but I think you just need to play into the variance.
If you run the other one around, you can still get 2, because the guy who didn't move to road would take the shot down, and then the other one can
that's true.
Even. So either way, you get basically the same attacks.
Yeah. Okay, in that case, I like that.
The glyph one does fall, though.
Nice. We got this. And another one falls.
Okay, well,
we got this.
Suddenly it looks much more plausible.
Yeah.
This is an interesting spot now with your singular Mara warrior.
Yeah, let's see, this is turn 3, I believe? No, turn 2? 3? I don't remember. We'll see here in a second. But
I think it's 2 because Heroscaper won initiative this round.
That's right, yeah. And so you can go for a kill. And I'm sure all the order markers are on the Mara warriors though, so Daisel's got us. Thanks, Daisel. Yeah, I'm not sure what I would do. Looks like he's going for the shot. And gets the kill.
Well, if it goes through, that's certainly worth it.
Right. And I don't know what the math is there.
I think I probably agree with it because there was nowhere that Mara warrior could have gotten to where he wouldn't have been shot at by at least 1 arrow Grut.
That's true.
Like if there'd been a spot where he could have hidden for a turn to clone, I think you clone, but that arrow Grut could have closed the gap anywhere.
Yeah. And if you try to clone and like with it, and then you've got
Yeah.
Arrogret shooting down on you. Yeah, that's very painful.
Even in terms of your other win conditions, one knight versus one Arrogret is a much more reasonable spot than one knight versus two Arrogrets. Because when they're backing off of it in different directions, it can become a pretty unwinnable spot. So getting them down, getting Heroscaper down to just the single Arrogret is definitely beneficial if the knights end up taking a turn. So ending the round, I think I'd probably clone here, actually. Because you're ending the round, I mean, obviously you're tempted to just take the win. Oh, never mind. I forgot about Wannick.
I did too until he moved on to it.
Refuse this entire game. This does seem like a reasonable spot to use it, I must say.
Yeah. Taking that Wannick, that's a good choice.
So ignore what I was saying about cloning, because that was completely incorrect advice. But yeah, so Wannick is used to end the finals of the VCheese number 2.
Yeah, and that was I loved that game. I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it. I enjoyed it watching it again. This was a good game. I really liked this one.
The Arrogrets managed a lot more offense at the end than I thought they would be able to, certainly. That a few a little bit lower probability attacks, but they did a good. Heroscaper did a good job of putting them in spots where they at least had a shot to knock down those Mara warriors. So kudos to both players. Certainly a well played game, very very enjoyable. Lots of big swings. Both sets of Mara warriors certainly proved why Mara warriors are what everyone knows Mara warriors to be, which is elite and capable of just randomly killing 200 points worth of stuff.
Yeah. Mara warriors are crazy. I mean, I remember them saying after the first VCheese that the biggest takeaway was that Mara warriors are A+. I mean, if you're looking at this game alone, like those early Mara warriors for Heroscaper 2010 doing so much damage, and
so 2 VCheese events, and out of those 2, the only thing that's present in every single army is Raylan plus Mara warriors.
Yeah,
for all 4 finals.
Yeah,
and I don't see that as being much of a coincidence. It's just such a good core that is just basically matchup proof.
Yeah, and it helps you with, I mean, like with the knights, we talked about it. It helps you with, your matchups that you struggle with Arrogrets. I mean, it just gives you another option to go with for like, especially with Olanova. I don't know if like Olanova being in the pool just like boosts Mara warriors by itself a ton, but like when you see it on a map, Mara warriors get really really good.
Yeah, it's certainly nice for him. But I mean, their potential to just go nuts is going to be there anyways.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I was really impressed with how both players played this. I mean, Boromir is I didn't talk much about the players themselves at the beginning of this, but Boromir is an incredible player. He's been doing really really well. I don't think he's played tournaments before like 2020, but I think 2020 was the first time that he started doing a lot of regular tournaments, and he's been showing up to play in just about every single one as far as I remember. Playing really really well, did really really well with the Knights. Heroscaper 2010. I mean, he just taking this awesome army this far, and like did really well with, like you said, with the Arrogrets there at the end. I think his placement was great. I think if he uses a couple of them more defensively early on, I think this game gets even closer than it already was. Which, I mean, if you tell somebody, hey, I watched a game with Knights into Arrogrets and Mimring, Arrogrets didn't have Swag Riders, you're probably like, oh, Knights must have crushed that. But no.
Yeah, and I mean, Heroscaper certainly did a very good job of opening well with the Mara warriors and getting good wounds with them off early on, which certainly thinned out the Knights' ranks considerably.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was great opening, and just good gameplay throughout. I mean, I'd rather just a couple more defensive plays, and he potentially even has this game, which is amazing for this army. But even that's still said, you know, Knights taking it, not super surprised. Like I said earlier, I think Knights are definitely one of the top armies in the VCheese meta. And
I will say, given the performance of Boromir and his Knights plus Raylan plus Mara Warriors, I would love for casters of Valhalla to spend some time discussing the merits of including Raylan and Mara Warriors with their Knights builds.
I would love that too.
I think that all of the viewers of casters of not viewers but listeners of casters of Valhalla would enjoy listening to the hosts consider that. So if any of them are listening to this, I would encourage them to appease their audience with a little bit of discussion of this as well. But congratulations to both players for making it this far. They definitely played great in the event, and congrats to Boromir for taking it down. Solid army, very matchup proof, and executed well. Ran all the way through the bracket. So congrats.
Yeah, he pulled it off. It was awesome. Great, like you said, great performance from both. Now what I kind of want is I'd love for Boromir to play against Kevin Dola. I guess there's a 20-point difference here, but I would love to see those two armies go off just for funsies. I think that'd be exciting. Give Kevin Dola Marku.
The Quahan build?
Yeah. The VCheese 1 winner versus the VCheese 2 winner, just as a face-off. And that's partially because I know Kevin Dola wasn't able to play in this event, so I just think
I think you've got to spot Kevin a Marku to make it an even matchup.
Yeah, for sure. Give him that, and then just let him have at it. But also, yeah, I agree. I would love for the caster of Valhalla to talk about this Knight build. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially in the VCheese meta. A lot, I think maybe a bit more, just because of I think the different army types that you see. But I mean, Knights, Raylan, Mara Warriors also just, I don't know, it just makes sense, I know one of the casters of Valhalla will disagree with that. I can think of at least one who will disagree with that very strongly. Probably a couple, but I think
it'd be a fun discussion though. But yeah. Either way, very, very good showing from the Knights and their ranged backup in this tournament. I think that everyone learns a lot from watching the VCheese events. So also grateful to the organizers for hosting them, and looking forward to number 3 whenever it happens.
Yeah, same. I really enjoy these events. I think they're fun, and they're always fast. They're fun to play. They're a good time. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this one, Chris. This is a great game. I was glad to be able to talk it with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Fun one to watch, and hope all you all out there enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Before we sign off, do you have anything that you would like to share, say, etc.?
I guess just maintaining hope that hopefully Gen Con 2021 can happen in some format, and maybe people will be able to get out, and whether it's at Gen Con or somewhere else in person throughout the country, hopefully in-person Scape can come back and be there in at least some meaningful capacity by the end of 2021. Certainly hope that's the case, and if it is, hope to see some of y'all out there.
That would be great. That would be a great world to live in, to be able to have live events coming back. That's a very good desire to put out there. I second it. But yeah, so this will that'll wrap us up for tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining, Chris for co-casting, and viewers for viewing. Go ahead and check out stuff in the description. I'm not sure exactly what I've got plugged at this point, but there's stuff in the description to check out if you need to. Cards, links to the stuff for the event, etc. But always remember what a beautiful world it is that we live in, and this will be 10 points under and out.